All right, welcome back. This is still the Polity, reaching live from Abuja studios. Right now, I've been joined in the studio by the Director of Research Youth Leadership Viewpoint Initiative, Mr. Abdullahi Suleiman Omale. He's here to speak on the state of the nation and some recent happenings across the nation. Welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's been a while.
So
how have you been? Has to start the conversation, has recent happenings, when I say recent happenings, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, of course.
How's it been on you? How have you been coping?
Okay, generally, I think it's actually an event that sounded funny, but we've learned severally from it. So it's also a series of events that has actually exposed Nigerians to certain things they need to know in regards to the area of technology. Yes.
All right, so let's delve further into this. There have been various stance, different propositions by different persons about what the cash swap policy is going to do for the country, both economically, politically, and as regards the election. I'd like to know where you stand on that matter. What do you think is going on? Is it to the benefit of Nigerians?
Okay, firstly, I would like to begin from giving a short analogy about different perceptions of the reason why the Naira swap actually came into existence at this very critical point. Politically, I would say this idea was established to curb, at least to reduce to the least minimum bribery that is attached to election, which means vote buying generally. Then economically, we believe the inflation rate is too high because several amount of naira in circulation. So these are the two events, looking at it from the economic view and the political view. So in my own school of thought, I believe there are several school of thought around this series of events. But in my own school of thought, first, what we hope is the aim is not defeated. That is the first hope, because we want a Nigeria, a democracy whereby, the voice of the people actually matters, where the voice of the people, actually means a lot. In a simple term, what we aim at achieving, in the 2023 general election is, a process whereby your vote counts. So, but we know all these events are manipulated through, vote buying. One will decide, one might end up saying, from the last regime, the last administration, I did not even get up to 300,000 naira. And just imagine at the point of voting, someone offered you that to vote a candidate. So,
pardon me, did you say 300,000?
Yes, I want to put it, because what happens, in the past election, it has always been an issue of bidding. This political party comes with so amount, and the other one try to, supersede the amount.
But you mean 3,000 naira?
No, 3,000 naira in, it depends on the area. 3,000 naira in some areas, it was as much as 45,000 naira. 50,000 naira per person, yes. So this is all determinant with the area, and importantly, why this thing has become too persistent is that lack of awareness and knowledge that is lacking. So that is why we are a good advocates of voters election and the electioneering process generally, where people get to know at the end of the day, what do you achieve if you sell your right, for a peanut that wouldn't last more than 2 days, if it might go more than that. And, it will require you to see the effect, whether, positive or negative, for the next 4 years. So, while we want to commend His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, retired General Muhammadu Buhari, for this action put in place, we also want to look at it from the area of, the masses generally. It was actually aimed at, it was targeted at top politicians, that at the end of the day, you know, wouldn't be able to get cash to buy votes. But if you look at the recent happenings between, you know, banks, their clients, the customers, then you begin to understand that the problem of the country, you know, it really goes beyond these leaders we elect. The Nigerians are also problems of Nigeria. You know, according to the CBN claim, at least 400 billion was injected into the economy in Naira, you know, the notes, I mean the new notes. Yeah. So how many of these Naira in circulation? That is what really matters. So at the end of the day, it was more like a business. But what I believe is, you know, the school of thought of the moment you allow, you know, your border to become porous, you know, you give opportunities to several types of insecurity that emanates from external body. You know what I mean? Like if I want to secure my room, you know, it is only when I give a particular chance that I can begin to have problem from outside the room. You get? So now the system, you know, application of, you know, this Naira swap, because to me, I still see it as a good policy at the wrong time for two reasons, and I'm going to explain them. Right. So, you know, the system, the policy was just implemented, and I think certain, you know, procedures were not kept in place that should see the sanctity, you know, and the sanity of the process generally, to see how clear it would be. Just imagine that a particular bank got a huge amount of money, and at the end of the day, they are giving it to, you know, the customers that are able to make up a percentage to them. So that was how these Naira notes went. You know, bankers were making money, bank managers were making a lot of money. So you see, this process, this alone jeopardized everything. It passed the knowledge to us that Nigeria, you know, our leadership is not just our problem, but even the people at every position of authority are our problems. That is why I agree with, you know, the perception that wherever you found yourself, either at the top, at the bottom, at the middle, you make a change, you make sure things are better there. So imagine CBN, you know, is just saddled with the responsibility of, you know, releasing this cash, injecting them, and they don't inject them into the economy directly, they do it through banks. Am I correct? Now, these banks are not giving it out to the customers in, you know, in a free and fair manner. What do we expect? It means at the end of the day, the general public would not get these things at as required.
But has there been any thought that perhaps what's happening is that the banks just don't have to give?
Okay.
You know, because
yes.
people wonder, would these banks do these things that puts off their customers? Take for instance, there are a number of persons who've already sworn off certain banks that this bank has given me so much issue during this period. Yes. Even if when the cash swap is over, I'm not banking with them anymore.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
are they not running that risk of, you know, losing customers?
Okay. Of course, the banks are, you know, running a risk of losing customers, because as a businessman, I believe you should focus on not just today, but you should aim at tomorrow. That is why you need to have a foresight to see tomorrow. I don't want to call the name of a bank, but ICPC, you know, as a body that regulates financial corruption in line with EFCC, we're able to what? Get hold of some banks. They just put the money into the ATM machines unwrapped, which means it can't dispense the cash. So what were they aim at doing? So it's very obvious that it was not a transparent process at all. So at that point, are we going to blame CBN? No, we will go down to leadership at the bank levels. Then we go to the people now, you know, lack of impatience from the people. What happened was, at the end of the day, banks are being attacked. You know, bankers harmed, you know, several banks burned. All these are to the detriment of not just the banks, because I believe when these banks are affected, the people are affected. We make these banks because, you know, it's our investment that they have. That is what they run. So when they are attacked, it's an indirect attack on us. So my essence of saying it's a very good policy, but at the wrong time is that for you to actualize something, because as every administration is aimed at, getting something done after putting measures on ground whereby those things can work well. It is important for you to see something working well before you do it. You don't actually jump into doing something. First, let's talk about the tech, the tech in the banks. Today, how many of us can do this, can make these transfers so freely? It takes, longer than usual. The bank techs are not equipped, with the requirements for us to go into, cashless policy. We still have a long way to go. I believe the government should have considered this first, upgrading the tech level generally of the banks. Then we can now implement a cashless policy. Just imagine someone from Benue State, one of my colleagues at work was telling me that someone from Benue State, one of his relatives, he was just called that they were at the hospital. The person was critically ill. There was no cash. And we all know how some of the hospitals operate. They want cash, payment before service. They tried to make transfer several times, but network was too bad. It delayed, the process delayed up to an hour. And suddenly the person that was in the hospital died. So these are issues we are going to be facing in the future. I myself, I would use myself as an example. For the past, 4 days, I come to work by making transfers. When I stop a cab, I tell the cab I want to make transfer. Few of them would agree. Those that agree, just imagine from the length of where you are boarding a cab to your workplace, let's assume it's an hour. It takes almost 40 minutes for you to be able to consider this, your transfer done. Then, 2 days back, I noticed, the mobile application generally has been functioning well. But the truth of the matter, the reality is, how many of these market men and women are equipped with the knowledge, are enlightened with the process, with the knowledge, just the usage of the mobile application? So these are things, we should have put in place. It's very simple. If we want to go into e-learning, it's very simple. What every bank need to do, I think CBN can just redirect every bank, to do that to their customers. You open an e-learning portal and you begin to guide them. This is what you do. This is what you do. Then it's a simple thing. But none of this was done. Our tech was not improved. Then a cashless policy was, imposed on the people. And this has actually brought a lot of hardship. And we are even doubtful that the aim of this politically can be achieved, because we know very well that these new Naira notes had been hijacked by some group of people, and we are very sure there are still people that feel like they wanted buying votes with the cash. It's CBN.
You mean the people that the policy was made against?
Yes, already have the cash. If CBN injected, let's assume
they have enough.
No, let's just assume if CBN injected 400 billion and less than 100 billion is in circulation, where are the rest of the 300 billion?
Well, but the issue is, when the CBN says they released 400 billion,
yes,
the money that was already in circulation was at least up to 1 trillion. So they didn't release the amounts that they've collected or that they hope to collect.
Okay.
So isn't that what's causing the shortage? Because the president, revealed that he actually gave the condition to the CBN that the notes must be printed in Nigeria.
Yes.
And one of the things that happened is that the printing press has never, taken that amount of printing up to 1 trillion naira within 3 months is almost impossible. Okay. So that was one of the explanations for the shortage. Okay. So do you really think the politicians have the money?
Of course I think so. I'm of that ideology. Let me ask a question. What about all these people selling the new Naira notes? Where do they get it from? In bulk. They have it in bulk and they are selling it. You give them 2,000 Naira old Naira note, they give you 1,000 Naira new Naira note. It happened.
Oh, that is happening.
Yes, of course. It happened. And it is still happening. You understand? So I believe what was lacking is a good follow-up. That is why I say when you implement a policy, you must make sure you have put in place machineries that this policy is going to work. So when it comes to technology, we are totally backward, and I feel like this is something that we should have paid much attention to before, you know, delving into the cashless policy generally. So for the economy, I really cannot fathom the fact that we are buying naira with naira in higher amount. So I really don't know what to say about that. But all I know is we are buying naira with higher amount. You understand? Just like people that the POS vendors, those that have POS machines today, when you go, you choose to withdraw 10,000 naira. At the end of the day, you are charged maybe 1,000 naira. At the earlier stage, just around the Guarimpa area, I just wanted withdrawing 5,000 naira, and I was told the charges is 1,500. So it means I got 3,000 naira, 3,500 for the value of 5,000 naira. So what is that actually doing to the value of naira? So I think, you know, the application of this policy at a time where certain things should have been put in place makes it all looks like, you know, it was not a policy that the government are really ready to follow up for. That is just the truth. Then with other speculations from the political party, because I still believe one of the basic problems we have that has hindered development and that has brought about lingering, you know, lack of development is the fact that we are covered, you know, we are blindfolded with the with political party affiliation. There's at a point we should think about the nation. All we need to think about is Nigeria, not the political party. Now, you know, some school of thought believe that this policy was targeted at Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate. Yeah. Because some people believe their bullion, vans, and the rest of them, he has several cash, you know, in place, and it was the only way the government could hit, you know, everything hard. But I just want to ask, you know, the Buhari's administration has been in power from 2015. And I believe from 2015 down to 2023 is 8 years. And 8 years is enough time to implement something extremely good. You understand? You know, when it comes to implementation of something that is going to be favorable to the people but would have one or two negative effects from the beginning, it's always good we implement it earlier. We know that most of the complaints of several governors today that have not been performing well is that they claim the governors that left offices left with debts, left with this incompleted, left with that incompleted. Then they say they use that actually as a reason for their own lack of proper, maybe management of funds at that time. Just like when APC came into power at the initial stage, it was all like a blame on PDP that they needed more time because PDP has spoiled a lot. Now, this policy, don't you think at the end of the day, no matter who emerges as president, would have something to complain about in his initial moment? Because it's coming at a dial minute where the next government will be faced with this same issue and trying to cope them with several other things and not focusing, at other projects that, if may planned, would have continued. So this is it. So I still believe it's a good project, but the time is really not favorable. I will use an example of England, the recent death of the Queen. After her death, I believe new notes were printed in the picture of the King Charles, but the instruction there was clearly stated that these notes will be used hand in hand until the old note naturally goes into extinction. And that is very possible. How can the old note go into extinction? As I'm using the old note, I go to the bank and deposit it. You don't give me back the old cash. What do you think? At the end of the day, all the old note will go naturally within the shortest time we could ever think. But given a limit, actually, brought so much confusion.
What you've brought up now is interesting.
Yes.
Let's try and picture it. Let's assume this policy came about a year ago.
Yes.
Let's say 2021.
Okay.
And perhaps this was happening. Wouldn't it still give politicians the opportunity they need? Don't you think? Or do you think it would be harder for them to, for lack of a better word, rehoard the money they must have returned to collect news?
Okay, now this is what I want to say. Sincerity of purpose.
Sorry, just a cut. It almost feels like the plan, to stop politicians can only work if there is a short time given.
Okay, thank you very much.
So do you think it will work if that extended period exists?
Okay, now, sincerity of purpose is one very, very important thing a leader must put in place. Whatever you are doing, you must be sincere about it. One thing I like about His Excellency is that you do those things regardless of the effect it might even have on you. That is sincerity of purpose. But what we are asking is, why did the president, why didn't the president implement this at 2019 election? You get what I'm trying to say. Now, at that point, everybody involved in the political sphere would have understood that there was total 100% sincerity on that, because it was even going to have a great effect, even, with the president on seat at then.
So do you think there is an element?
Yes, so that is why people
APC candidate
targeted. Of course. That is why I'm telling you now that the speculation of people that feel like it's against a particular person might want to stand if they look at it from their own point of view, because it has not affected you. You had you had the power, you were in full control. You would have implemented this in 2019 elections, because you were someone that wanted to, fight for good governance. You should have implemented this. And if you implemented such in 2019 election and you are still implementing it again, everybody will know, this man is for real. He has always been like that. Sincerity of purpose. So this reason enough has given others, so many reasons to look into it and see that there is no much sincerity in the activities. And I believe that at this point, at this critical point, it was important. My own point of view is it was important for the government generally to have controlled other things better than even implementing the policy at this point.
All right. Now I'd like to get your thoughts on when you spoke about sincerity of purpose. So let's relate that now to the governors.
Okay.
A number of Nigerians are skeptical about the support they seem to be getting from Nigerian governors, and they seem surprised. And I wonder, are they not really just fighting for the common man? Do you think there could be more to it?
Okay. I understand the point. Your question is coming from, and I still understand very well that it's regard the money swap. Where several governors, basically two governors, three of them took, filed the case against the federal government. So, first, what I would want to say is, I actually am not someone that believe in fallacious information. So whenever I say something, it's something that I have a good reason, a good point to hold on to. If governors like His Excellency, the governor of Kogi State, Yaya Adoza Bello, His Excellency, the governor of Kaduna State, yes, Nasir El-Rufai, we all know the closeness of these governors to His Excellency, the President of Nigeria. If at this point they took up the matter, filed the case to the court with the aim, with the main content of their people are suffering, I believe every governor, have the right, to file a case against the federal government if there is implementation of a law that affects its own people, because it's just like a hierarchy. At the state level, the governor is in charge. So let's assume there is a federal policy that is affecting your people. I believe it's something you can always stand out to make a complaint about. So if the governors are sincerely doing this for the people, it's really going to be, I don't know what to say about that, but I believe if it's sincerely for the people, it's going to be, it's a good thing, and it's between them and God. But I recently saw on social media that some people stated out some certain things, and the governors never filed a case. Things like, you know, when there were banditry in states, things like when there were, you know, violence in some states and the likes of them. So, and I told some of the people there that sometimes you need to have a reason to put up a case, and sometimes you need to have enough backup to put up a case against the federal government. And normally we are supposed to hear the case by tomorrow,
yeah.
So we don't know the situation of the case, but I still believe in a case like that where you know, the state government is filing a case against the federal government, and we have a standing judiciary, a working judiciary. I still believe the decision of the judiciary was supposed to be, you know, was meant to stand. But anyway, we want to see how it goes tomorrow. But for the decision of the governors to take the case, you know, to court, I would not actually negate that decision, because to be frank with you, people in certain states, people in several states, not just Kaduna State, not just Kogi State, in almost all the states, people are suffering. In the market is almost empty because there is no cash and there is no access to payment online, you know, because the network is not good enough, the tech is not in shape. So all this will bring about suffering, and people are already scared. People are already, you know, are running helter-skelter with the rumor that is, you know, recently made that at the end of the day, by tomorrow or next tomorrow, that all online platforms, USSD, are going to be shut down. That there will be no transfer address. So we are very sure it's a rumor, because
that's a WhatsApp BC. Well,
yes. So we've not heard from the source. So we'll just say it's fallacy until we hear directly from the CBN or every other, you know, agency that regulates, you know, our finance generally.
All right. Just one last question on this particular squabble. What's your stand when it comes to the legality of the issue? After the president made a you know, a release or a speech earlier in the day, you know, we had the Kaduna State governor coming out and using the term, "Don't be worried about illegal or artificial deadlines." Is that crossing a line, or is it just him standing with the Supreme Court, you know, the highest court in the land, and speaking?
Okay, I believe.
Sorry, before you go ahead, our phone lines are open now, so you can call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I believe that statement of El-Rufai is standing in line with the Supreme Court, because El-Rufai as a person does not have the power to stand alone and fight the federal government. So I believe at this point their strength remains judiciary. So if he's making such statements, artificial, you know, deadline, is because he feels like the judiciary would make a balance between that. Yes, so that's it.
All right. Now, you know, let's take more issues now. We'll go a little bit more political.
Okay.
Developments we're seeing.
Yes.
Now, an interesting thing has been happening. If you're taking a look at the papers, you see perhaps a headline that reads, a certain party collapses structure for another party or another candidate. But now we're seeing that parties are seemingly splintering. So where you have a national chairman of a party, presidential candidate of a party, perhaps the spokesperson of the party, all three persons support three different candidates.
Yes.
You know, so I'd like your thoughts on what's your opinion about what we're seeing with people collapsing structure, picking candidates. The latest one was the one just while we arrived, the ADC.
Yes,
the national chairman was present there.
Yeah.
As of this morning and perhaps late last night, the presidential candidate said no such thing exists. Meanwhile, perhaps I think in Lagos State, another ADC, I think the Lagos faction or thereabouts, has declared for Atiku Abubakar, and yet another ADC has declared for Tinubu. You know, so what do you make of this? Do you think it has any impact? The people that are getting the support, will it in any way affect their votes? And what's your general take on the idea of collapsing structures here and there?
Okay, you know, generally, before I talk on that subject matter, I would like to still implore, Nigerians to stay away from spreading fake news, fallacious news. That is one problem that has brought about, several loss of lives and properties. Spreading of fake news is one basic issue that needs to be treated, unless, or if not, we are going to face, at the end of the day, unnecessary issues in front of us. The reason why I stated this was the issue of collapse of structure. NNPP presidential candidate in person of Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, yes, the former governor of Kano State. Several times there has been fallacious news. I've read like 4 occasions to 5 occasions where fallacious news were made that he stepped down for Tinubu. And at the end of the day, his spokesperson comes out and say, no, the presidential candidate never stepped down.
Yes.
So if you look at this, you know that it is triggered by fake news. You understand? It is triggered by fake news. Then collapsing structure has always been the order of the day in Nigerian electoral processes generally. And I think what every one of these people that collapse structures are aimed at achieving is just interest. In these cases, we completely come to the realization that these people are not actually, these people that are collapsing structure at the end of the day, supporting a party where one particular political party is supporting 3 candidates, are looking into structures. So what we want to see is the mobilization factor there, that maybe the presidential candidate of that party they collapse to, or members of that party, has actually met them with an offer. And they feel like, this is considerable than this. This is considerable than this. And this has been the issue. What we are fighting for, what we've always been fighting for in democracy, what we have always been fighting for in our electoral processes is self-interest. We have always wanted putting national interest as number one. We have always tried as much as possible to fight self-interest, whereby a leader comes into, come into a particular position and begin to fend for himself rather than the party. This is what we have always been fighting for. And till tomorrow, this is going to be our only problem in democracy. As far as somebody is patriotic, as far as you are a patriotic Nigeria and have the zeal for development, the first thing you put into consideration is national interest. So now, what do we think? These people collapsing structure, a party that was united by a party, and now collapsing structure into several parties. There is nothing we can understand more than the fact that they are giving offers and they are trying to consider their interests at that point. If they want to consider national interest, this is what I expect every party that at this point want to collapse for another party to do. Come out in a press release on a TV broadcast. State your reasons why you are collapsing your party for that presidential candidate. Let's assume because this candidate is very, very competent and we believe our presidential candidate has more to learn from him. Because this presidential candidate has this to offer Nigerians, and we believe at the end of the day this can be achieved. A better Nigeria can be achieved. The Nigeria of our dream can be achieved through that presidential candidate. What do you expect if a political party comes out publicly to give this kind of a press? That is when we see, we begin to see national interest in such party. You understand? You get what I'm trying to say? But at the end of the day, you notice a press release from same party, same people split off and begin to talk that we are standing for this, we are standing for that, and we are standing for this person. This has shown that they are divided because of a certain interest.
Right, just to get your opinion on it,
yes.
Who do you think, at the end of the day might have more control for the party's, assets, so to speak? I ask this because online there's an argument going on between the different parties.
Yes.
Say for instance, when one faction says they support the PDP, another says the Labour Party. Now the Labour Party and the PDP start to drag for the numbers.
Yes.
So the INEC just released the polling, the number of polling
unit
officers,
agents. Yes.
Now, so you see some people, take for instance, Labour Party supporters saying Labour Party has X number of agents.
Yes.
If you add ADC, this is the number of agents we have. The PDP person said the same thing. We have this number of agents, but with these extra agents from this party that collapsed structure for us, we now have this number.
Okay.
First of all, is that even how it works? And the second of all, when you have multiple factions, how does it really work? Is the power with the national chairman, or is it with the presidential candidate?
Okay. This is a very, very important question, because for some times now we've actually been seeing this. Let's look at, like in the APC primaries, we know then that the APC national chairman had a different person on mind.
Yes.
The president had a different person on mind. Some group of APC supporters had different people in mind. Then subsequently, in the PDP primaries too, same thing happened. And in fact, to talk importantly on the divisions we have in PDP today, where we have the G5 governors working, how should I put it, independently on their own. The G5 governors are not in support of the presidential candidate, and which simply of the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, that is His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Now, this simply shows that there is already a split in the party. Do you understand? Because PDP was unable to even hold its campaign in one of the key states, which was Rivers State. So we, at the end of the day, know that there is going to be an effect attached to that. But generally, in cases like this, what we expect the party to do is come up with a CTC committee. A committee that should bring about a resolution. If you never won in unity, I want to wonder how you want to win in a divided state. If you look at 2019 elections, then Peter Obi was the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Am I correct?
Yes.
And His Excellency Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, the present presidential candidate of the NNPP, was also a key member of the PDP. Okay, with all these divisions, all these people already splitted, and with certain governors that have a say within the party, a say, because I believe every governor in a state has a role to play. With all these governors that have a say within the state, because they are the #1 controller of that party in their state. Because we have a national chairman, but when it comes down to a state level, the #1 controller of the party is the governor. When we go down to local government, is the chairman. You understand what I'm trying to say? So we all know undoubtedly that this will definitely have an adverse effect. And this effect will range from splitting of the votes. Some people might actually not be too loyal to the party. Some people might be too loyal to the governor. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Some people might actually, some group of PDP members in Rivers State might be very, very loyal to Governor Nyesom Wike, and not just to PDP. And at the end of the day, they might just be saddled with the responsibility of supporting whosoever they feel like, their #1 person within the state wanted them to support. At the end of the day, individually, all of these governors that breaks out from the party know what they have to achieve. It's it's something they know themselves. They know what they aim at achieving. But we are only spectators about that. We are talking from the background. But we want to understand that what brings a party together is unity. And just like a bunch of broom, when it works together, it's always stronger than when it's alone. Sometimes when it's alone, it becomes very, very helpless. So we don't know what they aim at achieving, but generally when it comes to who to follow, I don't believe it's a matter of the presidency of the national chairman. I believe more that it is a matter of who they are actually very loyal to. That is what I believe.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough answer.
Yes.
So I'd still like to talk more about the politics that we've been experiencing so far.
Yes.
How would you rate the atmosphere in terms of how civil it has been? A lot of people have been likening this election to 2015, where an incumbent was removed and thereabout. Are you saying the same thing? You know, others even speak about division.
Okay.
You know, I saw an infographic just perhaps yesterday or so, taking a look at the old elections. Let me see if I can find it here. At previous Nigerian elections, we have one from 1979. This had Shehu Shagari of the MPN, Obafemi Awolowo, and Nnamdi Azikiwe. Shehu Shagari won that. In 1983, we have Shehu Shagari, Obafemi Awolowo, and Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Shehu Shagari won that again. The point I want to make here is that these are three main candidates from the three different main ethnic groups. So people believe that this time is perhaps a bit more polarizing in terms of division along ethnic and religious lines. Have you seen that, or is it an exaggeration?
Okay. You know, just like it always comes, everyone has right to their opinion, and I believe there are countless opinions of Nigerians based on what they see, based on what they analyze. But to my own view, first, you know, politics, you know, Nigeria, I still see Nigeria as one. When Nigeria was not Nigeria.
Just a moment, Mr. Mane. Let's quickly hear from one of our callers. Hello, good afternoon. We lost that call. I guess I wasn't expecting to get picked. You can call back later. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, first, what I want to talk about is, you know, irrespective of several opinions we have, at this point, we consider Nigeria as one people. When Nigeria was in protectorates, you know, the southern and the northern, we understood that all we needed to elect was a leader that comes from that part of the country. Then, when Nigeria was in protectorate, we knew that, you know, someone from the southern protectorate never came into the northern protectorate to, you know, vouch for an elective position, and vice versa. But at this point, where Nigeria is one, and we have a backing constitution, I think it's not constitutional anyway, because there is this zoning of presidency. You know,
is that what you are saying is not constitutional?
Yes, I want to say it now. I think it's something that was supposed to be made constitutional. But I think it is not really constitutional in the sense that it was not stated in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that when someone from so-so zone spends so-so a, it has to go to someone from another zone. It was more like an indoor agreement. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Anyway, I am someone that stands for zoning of the presidency.
Because do you think it should have been in the constitution, or it should just be a gentleman, agreement?
No, it should have gone more than a gentleman agreement. It should have been more than a gentleman agreement, not an indoor something. It was. This issue is so important that it concerns every single Nigerian in the country, but it was not written boldly in the constitution, and this issue began to emanate. We got to know about more findings of this, you know, during the APC primaries. I don't know if you know of that. This was when we really understood this, the statute of zoning of presidency. And at the end of the day, I actually wrote an article with Telwell newspaper, where I actually themed it as zoning presidency, not solution to our democratic loopholes. You know, I tagged it zoning of presidency, not solution to our democratic loopholes. So, because at a point I'm someone that believes in competency. You know, I'm someone that believes in leadership antecedent. I'm someone that believes in ability and capability, what one has to offer. Are you understanding the point?
Yeah.
So now what one really has to offer is, what do you have to offer Nigerians? Not just because Nigerians want to fulfill the fact that if it comes to the south, no, next time you should not go to south now. Let it come to the north. Or when it is in the north, no, now let it not continue in the south. How about let's give them? No. It shouldn't be in that way.
But do you think all the regions have enough competence at any time?
Exactly. Now, this is one thing I believe. I still believe that within all these regions, we have competent people. But our electioneering process have not made all this easier for them. I also wrote an article on cost of electioneering as the main essence why several competent people are unable to show face. For you to be a president in the country, we know the cost of buying just the presidential nomination form, interest form, is something else. And we very well know that even if Nigeria is not practicing a party system, we must tell ourselves the reality. Nigeria is practicing more of a party system. Except recently that two other parties as a dark horse, are fastly in the race. That is the LP and the NNPP. You get what I'm trying to say? If not, Nigeria has always, from 1999, has always been a game of PDP and ANPP. That was how it started, right?
Some persons still believe it's still a two-party race.
That is it. Today. Exactly. That is what I'm trying to say. Now, up to this point, it was later it became PDP, APC. CPC. And then this point, it's now PDP, APC. And the truth remains that at this point, more of Nigerians see it as a game between the PDP and the APC. Because the other parties do not have they lack that mobilization factor. People are not aware. People are, there is no so much awareness creation. People are not aware of several things about this party. It was more of candidature. For me, I'm someone that believes in candidature. I can actually vote the president from one party and vote House of Assembly or House of Reps for my state from a different party. I have a length in political enlightenment to some points, but some other people do not have this. They might actually believe, okay, let me use an example now. Like many people across some part of the north, let me use an example of Kano State. See Kwankwaso as the solution, and he is going to be the person they want to vote for the election. But believe me, some people that knows that Kwankwaso is competent enough for them to become the president of the country might not know that Kwankwaso belongs to what? NNPP. If they know that, okay, Kwankwaso belongs to NNPP, they might not know how the logo looks. Many other people that believe Peter Obi should have that opportunity knows just Peter Obi. But at the end of the day, they don't know how the LP logo looks. And at the end of the day, these same people, I'm telling you, I'm talking of people within the village, the rural areas. These same people still see it as a game of APC and PDP till tomorrow. But they think these people are coming from this party. So enlightenment, awareness is very, very important. And I believe this is something that, the dark horses within this political party should have put in place before now. Anyway, I'm not saying they don't have chances, but I'm just generalizing the fact that if NNPP and LP created more awareness, maybe we should have expected more votes. But till today, till tomorrow, the awareness of APC and PDP is that at the end of the day, everyone still sees it as a two-party system. A governor of a state in Nigeria, the 36 states, a governor is either from PDP or APC. And remember, as the governor of the state,
there's ABGA too, though.
And ABGA, yes, and ABGA, one ABGA. Mm. So imagine in the state now, everybody is aware and have more knowledge about ABGA. But look about more of other states. You get what I'm trying to say? Because I'm talking about the influence now that a state owns when the governor is from a particular party. When the governor is from a particular party, that state party, that state as a whole, has the opportunity to know more about the sitting political party. You get what I'm trying to say? Just like in like Kaduna State today, El-Rufai, the governor of the state, is APC. So more people in Kaduna are knowing about APC, or at least the opposition, the strong opposition about the political to the political party, which is PDP.
All right, let me just quickly cut in there. When you mentioned that you go for individuals rather than
yes.
party,
yes.
Do you believe that it's possible for a party to hold back the potentials of a candidate because of the way the party's inner workings and behavior is? Or take for instance, at a point where you want to make a statement, take for instance, let's make the assumption that you are not happy with the way a party has ruled your country for 4 years.
Yes.
At that time, if a candidate emerges and the candidate seems to be someone you've always admired and you believe is a good candidate,
yes,
but the party has not impressed you for the last 8 years,
yes,
what do you do in such a situation? Do you believe that such a person will be immune from the workings of the party?
Okay.
How do you juggle such a situation?
Okay. For me, the first thing I put in place, I believe we have arms of government, and within the state we have, the hierarchy. I would assume that if I was in my local government from Kogi State, I'm from Kogi State. Let's assume I'm from my local government, Angpa local government, and an incident took place. The first thing I'm supposed to do is to look at what length has the chairman of the local government performed to curb that particular matter. Was it an issue that was above the power, the power given constitutionally to the chairman? If it was above, what about the state governor? What I should consider. Does it go above the state governor? That is when I begin to look at the president is at fault. Do you understand? Now, some people might actually see that if someone from a political party did very, very wrongly, let's assume APC, some people believe, the views of people, some people believe APC have not done well for the election. But what about a state like Borno State, where we have His Excellency Zulum, Baba Gana Zulum as the governor? What is his performance as the governor of the state? Is he performing very well? Everybody is attesting to the fact that, yes, Baba Gana Zulum is doing the utmost best. We see it. We see what is going on. You understand the point I'm trying to make? So at a point, we need to hold people that are faulty responsible. I am not, I am not advocating for any political party. Nigerians have their choice. The most important thing is that Nigerians should look at competence. Nigerians should look at someone that can take the country forward.
All right.
Yes.
You've already touched on it, but I want you to use that to round up now. It's about 4 days to the election.
Yes.
What do you have to say to Nigerians out there and everyone involved? What do you think what the mindset they should have at this point in time?
Okay. First of all, at this point, the only ticket we have towards electing who we feel is competent enough is our PVCs. If at this point you don't have a PVC, it simply means you are not going to vote, because collection of PVCs have been closed. You get the point. So we are going into the field, though I'm going to serve as an international observer, but I'm going to make sure that first I cast my vote, because I also have my candidate I believe can take Nigeria forward. We must be very, very careful. We know that, I think there is so much mobilization of security forces. Yesterday, we see so much security forces moving around. So we believe the government wants to do the best in putting security in place, because when there is no security, there can't be peace of mind. One cannot actually go out to vote for the candidate of his choice. So one advice I have for voters first is, I believe advocation or campaigning should be kept aside on the day of election. One shouldn't go to a polling unit and begin to vote my candidate. This man, he will do this to the country. He's going to that and this. That can actually lead to war.
True.
A problem there, because what you should consider there is your own safety. You are there to vote someone you feel is competent enough, but how would you have an impact on that competence if you are not alive to feel that effect? So that is the first. And secondly, I believe while Nigerians are going out there to vote on that day, we should make sure we are not going there to vote with, a cloth that is flagged with a political party logo or something like that. Let's go out. If you are not an agent, I don't see why you should have a stamp or of a particular party while you are on you are dressed. So most importantly, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of religion, irrespective of geopolitical zone, irrespective of personal interest, and irrespective of what at the end of the day we believe we are going to achieve individually or singly, let's always try to put Nigeria first. So I implore Nigerians to vote for a candidate, that is competent enough to take us from the loopholes that we face today. Nigeria needs to grow better. Nigeria needs to grow faster. Let us elect a candidate that can take Nigeria forward. Not just electing a candidate because we believe that candidate is from our geopolitical zone. Not just electing a candidate because we believe that candidate is from my religious background. Not just electing a candidate because we believe that candidate is from our state. So this is my final advice to Nigerians as a whole. Stay safe and vote for a candidate that will take the country forward.
All right, thank you so much,
Mr.
Omale, for coming for your thoughts this afternoon.
Yes, thank you very much.
We'll run off the program now with a little bit of information or passing of information to Nigerians. We'll start now with the matter of how to locate and confirm your polling unit before election day. For those who don't know, you can get it via SMS. Kindly text the name of your state, last name, and the last digits of your voter identification number to the number on your screen there, 090-628-30860, to get your polling unit name. You can see the example on the screen. You can also get it on the INEC website by going to the website and getting your polling unit name. Now, let's take a look at one more thing before we round off the program, finally, on how to vote on the election day. From the infographic, you can see there, voting starts at 8:30 a.m. So that's about the first thing you should know. Voting starts at 8:30 a.m. Present your PVC for accreditation using BVAS. After that, check and be sure your name is on the register of voters in that polling unit. Next, get authorized with the BVAS through the fingerprint or the facials. Once accredited, you'll be issued a ballot paper. Next, go to the voting cubicle to make your choice in secret and drop marked ballot paper in the ballot box. Take very particular note about make your choice in secret. Please
exactly.
Do well to follow that.
Yes.
And then also, finally, you can leave or stay 300 meters away from the voting area to witness vote sorting and counting.
Good.
Yes, just to remind you, 4 days from now, we have the presidential election and also National Assembly. About 2 weeks later, we have on Saturday, 11th March 2023, for the governorship and State House of Assemblies. These are some of the things you need to know. Perhaps we'll give you more information. Some things you need to take with you: a bottle of water, comfortable clothes, your power bank. If so these are little things that you need to have on the election day. But we'll bring that more to you, perhaps on another segment and another program. Thank you very much for staying with us to the end of the program. We come your way every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. for the Polity on Kaftan TV Channel 124 Startimes. Now, have a nice day. I'm Amadou Nobewe. See you tomorrow.